Hello, agents. This is Diana Howell. I'm one of your productivity coaches here at KW Hoover. Today, we're going to start the process of how to work with buyers. We will cover how to do your buyer presentation, how to create your buyer checklist from contract to close, and we will also attach some scripts to this email. We will give you the links to every place that we've been to and some PDFs to include the buyer checklist. So be sure and check all the attachments with this email. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Get my glasses on. Okay, let me move this out of the way so I can see. All right. All right. So the first thing that we're going to go over is the buyer checklist from contract to close. Now, when you're in class, we brainstorm this together and we put this together for you today so that it's easier and it's going to be attached to this video. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about your buyer checklist from contract to close. So when you are working with the buyer, if I were you, I would print out this PDF that's attached on the email, and I would have my checklist. So as I go through each step through the process with my buyers, I would check it off. And we're going to start with the new buyer checklist. You always want to know, how do they find you? Get their info to include their email, phone number, and their current mailing address. And if there's a spouse involved, be sure and get all the information of all the parties involved in the transaction. Ask questions from the buyer from the information sheet that will be attached to. Qualify the buyer. Get them pre-approved. Direct them to a proper lender. Don't forget to recap them before you really start this discussion. And then make sure you sign or have them sign the buyer agency agreement with you. You want to send the buyer a presentation with appropriate pages, and we're going to go over presentations in a minute. You want to set up the new community in command. Okay, I'm starting completely over, guys. All right. All right, the first thing that we're going to go over is our buyer checklist from contract to close. Now, we have it broken down into segments for you, and the PDF will be attached to this email. So I'm just going to go over the different steps. Every now and then, you may not have every single step, but I would, in the beginning, I would print this off, attach it to every buyer file, and then check off what you have completed. So for a new buyer, you want to ask them how they found you, get their information, ask questions from the buyer information sheet. You want to qualify the buyer, talk about pre-approval, and direct them to a lender. Make sure you recap them, have them sign a buyer agency agreement, and you can pre-send your buyer presentation with all the appropriate pages if you have that time in advance. If not, you probably want to have it as a PDF on your computer, and or you may want to print off some hard copies that you can physically go over with them or leave a copy with them. You want to set up a new opportunity in command and upload the recap and the signed buyer agency for compliance under the consultation tab. You want to set up the property search in MLS, and you want to send your KW app to the buyer. Now we're going to talk about your checklist for showing homes. You want to set up the property search in the MLS if you haven't already. Make sure your Super E-Key is working, and you need to update that daily. You need to have Wi-Fi when you update it, and it just takes just a couple of seconds. Download the Showing Time app and have that on your phone. Home Snap app is another app you want on your phone. You'll get that through MLS. You want to educate the buyer. If they are concerned about schools, you want to refer them to greaterschools.com and let them check out the schools. Give them a copy of the contract and go over what a contract looks like before they actually make their first offer. Do due diligence on properties you are showing if time permits. And what I mean by that, try to find out as much information about the properties as you possibly can before you go and show them. Call the listing agent, see what you can find out about the neighborhood. Print the MLS sheets to give to the buyer and ask them to take notes. Remind buyer about protocol at home. Sellers sometimes have video cameras or listing devices. Make sure you don't discuss anything private or anything that a seller could use against them on the property. Wait till you leave the property. Make sure they keep their children with them at all times. They just don't get to run free throughout the house. Leave your business card at the home and leave feedback for the listing agent. Okay, writing an offer. Contact the listing agent to ask if others' offers received. What is important to seller? Build rapport with that listing agent. Get the pre-approval letter from the lender if not already obtained, or get proof of funds of cash. Print the MLS sheet out for your listing that you're going to write the offer on. Fill out the general residential contract, land contract, or condo contract as applicable. Include all pertinent addendums, such as the required inspection addendum, the PPA or personal property addendum, LBP or lead-based paint addendum. If it's an FHA or a VA loan, you're going to need the FHA VA amendatory clause. There could be some additional addendums that you might need, and you can always reach out to your coach to find out if you need anything else. Do the buyer net sheet for the offer. Remember, we are required to do net sheets for all offers. Send all documents for signatures, initials via DocuSign if you're not in person. Download contract and addendums, pre-approval letter, proof of funds into one PDF and email to listing agents summarizing your offer and include pertinent information in the email. Ask listing agent to acknowledge receipt of the offer. I would also send a text and let them know offer is sitting in their email, and I would also call the listing agent to let them know you've sent the offer over. You never know if that offer is going to be seen by the listing agent. They may or may not be checking their email. Negotiate the offers necessary. Get final signatures and initials. Finalize offer on page 11 of contract. Upload contract addendums, copy of earnest money, and receipt and PDF of listing showing contingent in the under contract tab of Command for compliance. Once you're under contract, this is a good checklist. Fill out contract to close form. Send email thread to title company, closing attorney, listing agent, and any TCs, the lender with the contract and all addendums, and the contract to close form. Go ahead and request at closing time on the specified date. So what that means is when you turn the contract over to the closing attorney, go ahead and get on the closing attorney's calendar for the closing date and get a time. Send the finalized contract and addendum to the buyer for their records. Deliver earnest money to the appropriate place. Whoever's holding the earnest money, whether it's the listing brokerage, KW Hoover, or title company attorney. Give buyer inspection options and schedule with the inspector of their choice. Pay attention to inspection dates in the contract and make sure you stay within those dates. Remind the buyer to get homeowners insurance, quote, or binder within the required 7 days as per contract. Ask listing agent if they will schedule the wood infestation report or the termite inspection, or if they'd like you to do it and schedule as needed. Note that it needs to be in the window of the dates put in additional inspections in the contract. Schedule other inspections as needed. Septic, sewer, survey, anything additional, a roof inspection, HVAC, whatever may be needed for that particular contract. Make sure you stay within the additional inspection dates. Negotiate any repairs. Prepare and send the signed repair request inspection contingency addendum to the listing agent. Write addendum is needed. There could be additional addendums after the inspection contingency addendum. When inspections are completed and the transaction is moving forward, notify the lender to order the appraisal. Send 3 home warranty brochures to the buyer if they are getting one. Order home warranty after buyer select. Schedule the walkthrough and the showing time. As near or as close to showing is preferred. Have buyers sign the pre-closing inspection of property form. Negotiate as needed after appraisal is completed. Purchase a closing gift if you're going to give a closing gift. As closing nears, check in with the lender and attorney's office to make sure they have all the documents they need for closing. Review the ALTA statement. This is the closing disclosure that you will receive from the attorney's office, and compare it with the contract. Double check commission. Make sure that if the seller is paying any of the buyer's closing costs, or if there's anything the seller has agreed to, that it's on the seller side, not the buyer side. And do check your commission. Make sure it's correct but from the MLS listing. Remind the buyer to bring the driver's license and certified check to closing. They may or may not be wiring funds, but they will need sometimes 2 proofs of ID. That would be their driver's license and any other ID that they might have, and wiring instructions to get their funds over to the closing attorney, or a cashier's check. Closing. Attend walkthrough with the buyer. Have buyers sign the pre-closing inspection form. Attend the closing. Take photo and ask buyer for permission to post on social media. Take check and closing statement to KW Hoover office and scan all to your email. Fill out closing cover sheet and turn in the check and original documents. Complete compliance in command. That means to upload all closing documents, copy of check, and PDF of sold MLS listing. Ask buyer for reviews and referrals. Do your social media post. Post-closing. Update contact information in command. That's their new address, their home anniversary date. Make sure you create your tags, and if you don't have their birthdays, go ahead and request those too. Set up the DTD2 system and put appropriate smart plans in place. Now, this is your checklist for closing. There's so much more that can go in here, and we'll talk about that as we go through the buyers. All right, so let's talk about getting your buyer presentation together. So there's 2 places we can go to. One is in command, and you can go to designs, which is the little applet over here with the square with the little paintbrush. Once you're in designs, you go over on the right-hand corner to create a design. And you're going to go to print, hit continue. It's coming up. Okay, you'll see over here under the drop down, there's presentation. So click on presentation. And you have a listing presentation, a home ownership, your guide to home ownership. So which one are you going to use? That's the same as your buyer presentation. All you do is click on the little pencil. It's going to bring the design up for you. You have the options to edit, put your information in there. You can take pages out that you don't want to use. You can add pages if you want to. All you need is a buyer presentation, so something to go through. If you've not already set up in Command your logos and images, you will need to do that ahead of time. All these pop-up pages. All right, so that's one place you can get your buyer presentation. Another place that you can get it for free is michaellewismarketingsuite.com. Now, you all have access to that. You will have your email to get in, and you will create a password. Once you log in to Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, go to the free stuff. Don't pay for anything, just go to the free stuff. And you're going to see, once you get into the free stuff, there's tons of information and things in here for you to use. But today we're talking about our buyer presentation. So let's go to the buyer consultation. We have it in English and Spanish. And I'm going to go with this one. Trying to get it to, oh, it downloaded. I'm sorry. Now, you do not get to personalize this one unless you want the paid version of Michael Lewis Marketing Suites, but I would not worry about that. I want to open it up. It comes in a PowerPoint, and then I can download it. I'm not going to open up the PowerPoint today, but it does come in a PowerPoint presentation. And let's see. Let me see if it'll just let me open right here. It's not. That's okay. But it will open up, and then you can put it in designs, and then you could add your own information to it. Or if you use Canva, then you could add it inside of Canva. Okay, so that's just some quick things working with buyers. So today we covered getting your buyer presentation. You can find that in Command under Designs, or you can go to Michael Lewis Marketing Suites and download the free one. And we talked about your buyer checklist from contract to close. Again, I would go ahead and get these ready. I would have some checklists ready. Attached will be a PDF of the checklist and a buyer questionnaire. We will put all the links in the bottom that you will need to get to Michael Lewis Marketing Suites. Be sure you set up your passwords and go to the free stuff. Don't pay for anything, just go to the free stuff. All right, that's it for today.